Hello, hello, and welcome everyone. My name is Francisco Cantu, and we are live on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook like we are every week. Ready to have a very productive conversation with all y'all. If this is your first time joining, welcome, welcome. And if you are joining us as a recurring viewer, then welcome back. What we do every week, for those of you who are watching for the first time, is Laura and I prepare conversations related to the world of college admissions, more particularly financing, scholarships and how to pay for college, as well as admissions, strategies to improve odds of acceptance. And we prepare topics that are topically relevant for whatever is going on this time of the year. Have a chat about it, hopefully teach a thing or two throughout this conversation to whoever's joining. And then we also are monitoring the chat on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. So if you comment something, we'll be reading it over here. And also Laura has her computer. So why don't we get this party started? You can let us know in the comments where you are watching us from. And yeah, Laura, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to yet another live stream Monday, a live show where we're going to be talking about how to help your student get accepted to college with scholarships. We will be covering a lot of important tips, a lot of important information, and at the end of the show, we have our trivia session where we will be asking you some college admissions related trivia questions to test your knowledge. This week's questions are a bit harder, so hopefully you're prepared. And don't worry if you get them wrong, you're going to be learning even if you don't get it right. And yeah, super exciting. I hope that you all had an amazing weekend. It was our dad's birthday this past weekend, so we did lots of celebrating. We watched Dune 2, so that was fun. It was a great movie, really recommend it. And yeah, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I hope you have a great start to your week. It is Monday, and I already see some people are commenting on the chat. I see that Jogly is saying Atlantic City, New Jersey. I see that Karina is saying hello from Mexico. Alrighty. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Francisco is welcoming my people on Instagram. And I see that I wanted to let you know we are also live on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. We're going live on 4 platforms as we do every Monday. So I hope that you are going to, that you pay attention and that you enjoy this presentation and that you stay till the end so that you don't miss any little bit of information that we share with you today. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and start today's presentation, start today's main topic, which is how to help your student go to college with scholarships. And in order to do that, we have to talk about something really important. The first thing that you and your student should know is that the best thing or the most important thing that you can do for your child and that you and your student can do throughout this college admissions process is to follow a guide, follow a specific path, which was exactly what helped my siblings and I, helped us on our road to college some years ago, and what has helped thousands of our students inside of Best College Aid, get accepted to great schools such as UPenn, the University of Texas at Austin, UMiami, NYU, Harvard. So we've had a lot of success stories personally, us, with our family, and with our students. And all of them did the same thing. They followed a guide. We followed, when we got to the US, we had no idea how the college admission system worked in this country. And our parents, they hired a private college admissions counselor that guided us through the process and was able to help us find all the opportunities that were available to us. And then with that process that we all individually went through, as my siblings and I, we have been teaching our students, and also we've been learning over the years because things do change. The college admissions process is always changing. So we do try to keep all the information updated and up to date for parents and students, because it is very important to take advantage of every resource possible available for parents and students. So that is very important and something that I want to clarify with you guys. Following a guide, if you are here today, if you've been watching us, maybe if you're a member of Best College Aid, you are already doing so. You are taking our advice, taking advantage of our resources. We have a lot of resources, whether it is the free content, TikToks, Reels, posts, pictures that we post here on social media, or maybe you watched our free training that is in the link in my bio. That is a completely free presentation full of information where we share the top secrets to go to college with scholarships. Or maybe, as I said, you are a member of Best College Aid, and you follow our step-by-step guide, and you have access to the benefits like the private Q&A session that we had last Friday that we have every month. It's a Zoom session just for members. So maybe you are already following some sort of guidance. So that is a good sign, and it's a good thing to have and to do. So that's the first tip and the first thing that you need to know in order to help your child get accepted to college with scholarships. Next up, that you and your student have to do, you as a parent, especially if you're a parent watching this, is understanding and knowing the 4 types of financial aid and scholarships. Fran, do you want to go ahead and share those with us?
Yes, absolutely. So going a little bit further away from, the following a guide type of aspect and going more into the technical stuff, as Laura mentioned, having an understanding of the way that the process works is probably one of the first things that you're going to encounter or learn if you were following a guide. So in the spirit of following, that advice, there are 4 main sources of funding for college or financing vehicles for college in terms of where it comes from. And the 4 different entities that could potentially give you money to pay for a student's education is the federal government, the state where you go to high school and then eventually proceed to attend college or pursue your higher education. Then there are the institutions themselves. And then there are private companies, corporations that can go ahead and give you money for whatever certain parameters they set as a private organization. So I'm gonna go ahead and expand on a little bit on each of these, Laura, and then we can proceed on with the presentation. But basically, federal aid comes from the United States federal government, and you have to have certain eligibility requirements as far as completing forms like the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. Then you also have to have requirements like your residency, your citizenship, or being an eligible non-citizen. If you go down the state scholarship and the state awards route, you might, on top of having to fill out certain documentation for your particular state, you might also have to have merit-based requirements that you have to complete, whether that is certain SAT or ACT scores, or whether that is certain level of volunteer hours. It's a combination, and you got to make sure that, and the reason why we started off with saying you need to follow a guide is, as I proceed to explain each and every single one of these, each one of these different types of scholarships or these different sources of money come with their certain level of complexities and certain level of bureaucratic things that you have to complete in order to receive that money. Because there are many instances in which, since we're talking about state scholarships at this point, there are students who might have the qualifications or the merit to receive these awards, but they don't know the necessary documentation that they need to receive these funds. So they don't fill out the proper forms, or they don't apply to the certain entities or the certain, institutions that they need to apply to in order to formalize the reception of these or the receiving of these funds. So that is why we started with following a guide and then understanding what you have to do completely, right? So I wanted to make that little interjection. So went over federal, went over state. Then the next one is probably the most important one, and our Best College Aid students, the students of our college advising program, they know that the number one or the most important source of funding for your college is institutional aid, because I believe it was over 51% of previous fiscal year, over 51% of all the money that came for a student or that a student received to pay for their college education came from the institutions themselves. If all sorts of aid or all entities were to give you the same amount of money, it would be 25%, 25%, 25%, 25% between the 4 different sources: federal, institutional, state, and private. However, because there are discrepancies and different entities will give you more than others, that's when we realize that proportionally, your time is best spent looking for generous institutions. That is why institutional aid is the most important one, right? So with our students inside Best College Aid, big priority within following our guide, and hopefully now you listening to this, you realize the importance of applying to generous institutions, and generosities based on, as we've mentioned in other live streams, endowments and funds that they have at their disposal at the university. But, not to get too technical, just want to make sure that you understand the importance of not applying to just the state schools where all of your kids' friends are applying to, or, where the parents went to college, without really understanding the generosity of the university, right? And then the last type, or the last source of funding for a college education, is private entities. This could be your Coca-Colas, your Burger Kings, your local relocation committees in your county, or, small businesses in your area. They might have their own procedures and processes that you need to complete in order to become eligible for these awards, right? So again, hopefully I try to keep that as short and as concise and as brief as possible. Number one, you're going to have the recording of this live stream at the end, posted on our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube if you want to rewatch it and slow it down and take notes. Number two, and I advise this one more, you can watch the free presentation that I prepared. It is like an hour and 20 minutes where I elaborate on it. And, right now we're just having a conversation, so I can't put up visual graphics and explain it a little bit clearer. But in that free training, in the link in our bio in Instagram and YouTube, and in the video description in Facebook and, Instagram and TikTok, it's in the link in our bio, and Facebook and YouTube, it's in the video's description. Well, in that one, we do have visual aids that can, explain this in a more comprehensive way.
Yeah. Step by step, I guess.
Right. So that was it as far as the different entities that can give you money for college. But now Laura will talk to you all a little bit more about the responsibilities of the student and how all of these can help out. And before you do that, I see a comment on Instagram saying, where is that? That is if you're watching on Instagram, just click up here or wherever the profile icon is. So you can go to the Best College Aid profile at Best College Aid USA. And then in the link in our bio, you're going to find the registration button. Is free to register. And it's an hour and 30 minutes, that presentation. It breaks down the process more in depth. I do recommend taking notes because it's a little bit dense in terms of there's a lot of information being packed, and I try to cover as much ground as possible. So that is, again, in the link in our bio, okay?
Correct. So those were the 4 types of financial aid, or entities that offer financial aid for college. And it's very important that you as a parent are familiar with the different types and know the specific deadlines, the specific opening dates, when, who, how qualifies for this types of aid, and when to and how to fill it out. All right. So very, very important information. All right. Now let's talk about a very important topic, which is responsibilities. And I guess the third tip is, in order to help your student get accepted to college with scholarships, and to win scholarships for college, you have to do some teamwork. Work as a team. A lot of parents believe that going to college and the process of getting accepted is solely a student's responsibility. But this, we've seen time and time again that it's not the right, way to go. A lot of students, and most of our students inside of Best College Aid, our success stories, had some sort of support from their parents or their guardians. Now, this does not mean that students, parents need to be helicopter parents and doing everything for their student, filling out their college applications or taking their tests. Obviously there's certain responsibilities that are just the student's responsibility, and there are responsibilities that are parents' responsibility. And there's instances in which students and parents need to work together as a team to complete certain parts of the college admissions process. Now, I'm going to give you some examples of what are some of the parents' responsibility, right? So a parent's responsibility in the college admissions process would be financial aid forms, helping students fill it out, getting all the documentation ready, and the documents and the requirements that will be needed to complete the FAFSA, the CSS profile, maybe some state aid financial aid forms. All of that is going to, if the student is applying for federal financial aid, state aid, or even institutional aid as a dependent, meaning that they are depending on their parents' finances. All that information, a lot of it is going to come from the parents' finances, tax returns, all that good stuff. And students need their parents' help. When I was in high school, I was so involved. I was, my senior year of high school, I was filling out applications, not only for college applications, I was also filling out private scholarship applications. I was in the theater club practicing for my play. We did Grease. I was also part of the swim club my senior year. And I was just doing so much. We went to sectionals at one point, and we had to travel for that. So, and it was around the time, obviously, that we had to fill out the FAFSA. And I had no, my head was not there to fill out this form. And I know that there's a lot of students that are so busy and so overwhelmed, and they have other responsibilities. And it's very nice that my parents helped my siblings and I in this specific part of the process, because I could have made a mistake, I could have filled out something wrong. And we do recommend students parents help their students with this specific part of the process. Now, there's other part of the process that could be teamwork, like creating a list of colleges, going on college tours, visiting schools, giving your opinion if you're a parent about a specific institution, helping them find private scholarships using, scholarship search engines. All those things could be kind of like the parent and the student working together. There's responsibilities then that are just the student's responsibility. Parents should not be taking tests for their kids or taking the SAT, studying for an exam. Ultimately, that is the student's responsibility 100%. But it's important to help your children and students be open to letting your parents help you in this process, because it will make the difference. Trust me, it worked with us. My siblings and I, we all got full tuition scholarships. We have students who've gotten full rides, students who have gotten accepted into incredible institutions such as Emory. We have Victor, students who not only got accepted into Emory, who's an amazing school, but also got a Questbridge scholarship, which we were talking about private scholarships earlier. And this is a private scholarship program that he applied to outside of those college applications that he dedicated some time to. And he won that scholarship. So it's important that students are also looking for those opportunities and applying for private scholarships. Maybe parents can help you find that scholarship, but ultimately it's going to be the student's effort and their responsibility to fill out those applications and maybe win some private scholarships or, whatever type of scholarship it is that they are looking for or applying to already. So it's important to know that. It's important to help your kids work as a team, and it really does make a difference.
Right. And before we get started with the not Q&A session, but the trivia, the trivia portion of today's live stream, I do want to take this time to give a little bit of a shout out to some of our best college aid students, but more so than it being a subtle flex or trying to talk about their success. I want to share their stories just because we have a lot of people watching this who might be juniors, sophomores, freshmen with different levels of ambition, right? We've had different types of situations. We've been doing this for around 5 years now. And we've had students who start the process in the second semester of their senior year, super, super late, whose only goal is to get to a college that covers 85% of their demonstrated financial need, and they do so successfully. And we've had students who start as early as freshman or sophomore year of high school who want to go to an Ivy League, and they've been blessed enough to, with our help, get accepted to institutions like UPenn, like Harvard, like Stanford, so top tier institutions, top 20 institutions, and they achieve that, right? But the common denominator here is, I'd like to think it's mostly parents that care. Yes, there's obviously situations where there's like a very much motivated child and a student that is very self-driven, but there are probably two main factors that I can pinpoint to a student's success. Number one is clarity on what they want to do. Typically, if a student knows that they want to be an engineer or a doctor and they identify that at an early age and they work towards that and all their extracurriculars are geared towards that, well, that makes the process very easy because then you can hone in on specifically what institutions offer that. And, it makes a very cohesive application when it's time to fill everything out. So if that's you, then great. Now, all you need to do is, as Laura mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, get a guide and execute. Make sure that you can buy as much or the most expensive thing that you can afford based on your qualifications. It's a metaphor, like based on the AP class that you took and the extracurriculars that you did and your SAT and ACT scores. Make sure that you don't leave anything on the table, that you don't mention anything, or that you kind of don't sell that as high as it could go in terms of getting accepted into the best institution that matches that student profile, while also being responsible about applying to a generous institution. So that is criteria number one. And criteria number two is, again, the degree of involvement of the parent, because, again, most of the best college age students who do really, really well are people who have parents who are very involved in the process. And obviously, they're not taking the test for the student or doing the student's homework, but they are on top of, okay, have you started looking your preliminary list of colleges? Have you filtered out based on, the generosity criteria? At the end of the day, the student has to do it, but it does help out a lot when it's a team effort and the parents are excited about it. So if you're a parent who is excited, or if you're a student who is, very driven, again, we have free resources. The recording of this live stream will be posted on our YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram pages right after it's over. And then number two, once that is done, if you want more and you want even more of a dense guide or something that is a little bit more, robust in terms of what it includes, then we have the free presentation, the link in my bio. That presentation I finished scripting and recording a couple of weeks ago, very updated to the previous admitted cycle. Go ahead and check that out. Just as a disclaimer, I'd like to share this, be very straight up and forward about this. We have a lot of students who, after these live streams and after watching the presentation, say that they want even more advising, something more personalized. So we try to do the majority of the content that we put out. We try to, put out there for free. If you go to our Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, you'll see that this is our day-to-day, is try to provide as much informational content that is helpful for parents, helpful for students. But we also understand that there is a need and there is a gap in the market for private college advising that is quality, but that might not be, the $10,000 that my parents paid for a private advisor, or the national average of $8,000 for private counseling. So that is why we developed Best College Aid, our college advising service that is all online based. So if you're interested in that, or even if you're not and you just want a free presentation, go ahead and register to the link in my bio. And then out of the hour and 20 minutes that's the presentation, the last 20 is where we talk about our services for those of you who are interested. If that's you, then you can learn about it then. And if you watch that presentation right now, we're also having a spring break sale, 50% off. And if you're not, then you just got an hour of free value, just like this presentation. Laura and I just had a talk and try to deliver as much value. Then you'll get that, but 60 minutes and more dedicated and concise. So that is available at the link in my bio, and stay till the end if you're interested in learning more about that service. I just wanted to do that little shameless plug, and also started off by talking about the success of our students and let you know that that's something at your disposal. But with that being said and out of the way, why don't we do some trivia now, Laura?
Alrighty, yes. Let's go ahead get started with our trivia section of this live show. So why don't we get that going? I'm going to be asking some questions, and you guys can answer the questions in the comments. Alrighty. All right. So this is going to be a true or false question. True or false? Every college in the United States offers early action and early decision applications. Every institution, every college or university in the United States offers an early action or early decision application. Is this true or is this false? Let me know what you think in the comment section. I see that on TikTok we have somebody saying true. Let's see the comments that we get on Instagram. Ms. Gol says that it is false. Rosie Garal says that it's false. The answer it's false. All right, we have one true, two false. We have false, false, false. Ra Miri says true. Voramain says true. Janet says true. All right. So, Francisco, do you want to go ahead and give us the right answer?
Yeah, the correct answer is false. Not every institution offers early action and early decision. As a matter of fact, there are different types of admissions that are offered by different institutions. The most popular ones being, yes, early action and early decision, which we've talked about it in previous live streams. Just to sum it up without going too much into depth, basically there is an admissions deadline, that's a regular deadline, and you can apply early and early action is non-binding, early decision is binding, right? Without getting into too much depth. But then there's also other types of admissions like rolling admissions that you can apply. And as the applications come in, the university starts making decisions as to who gets accepted and who doesn't, right? So what's important here and what we teach our students inside Best College Aid is to go ahead and look at admission statistics for each type of application, see how each type of application stacks up with the resume, with what they can provide, and whether it's responsible based on those admission statistics to submit an early application or to wait or to even apply to a particular school based on those requirements. Okay. So yeah, great question. And kudos to all those of you who got it right. And even more kudos to those of you who got it wrong because you learned.
All righty. Great, great. All right. So it's going to be a fill in the blank. You will write your answer in the comment section. All righty. The highest possible score in the SAT is, what's the highest possible score a student can get in the SAT combined, not by section, combined? What is the highest possible score a student can get in the SAT? All right, let's see what we get, what comments or answers we get in the chat. And no cheating. Don't use Google. Use your mind. And if you...
Blue 1979 is saying 1600.
1600, all right. We get 1600. Let's see. Let's get a couple more entries. Let's see what people on TikTok are saying. The answer could be... All right, we also get a 1600. All righty. Do we get more? What's the highest possible score students could get on the SAT? Many says 1600 or 1700. I think so. All righty. Okay, let's give 10 more seconds for people to write in their answer, what they think the highest possible score they can get on the SAT. We have 1700, 1600, 17,000. No, not 17,000. And maybe you meant 1700. All righty. Are you ready, Francisco, to give us the answer?
I believe that I am. Yes. So SAT, the highest score is 1600. What I do want to talk about more so than the score itself, though, is how you stack up in terms of percentile. And, you know, people a lot of times ask, oh, should I take the SAT or the ACT? Or is this a good score? Is this a bad score? I always want you all to contextualize and take whatever score the student gets. And again, because scores change all the time, you know, sometimes, you know, the scale might go up, might go down. I believe the ACT is the one that stayed consistently or more consistent over the years. But when you normalize it in terms of, oh, I'm above, 95 percentile or I'm in the top, whatever percentile, then you get an idea of how you stack up against the competition. But more specifically, when you contextualize it in terms of the applicants at a particular university, you can tell if you'd be a compelling, competitive applicant, or even if you should include it in a test optional or a in a test optional school as part of your application, right? So that I want you to have that be the takeaway of this question, which is, again, always compare it to the rest of the nation, the national average, but more importantly, so the average scores at the universities that you'll be applying to, all right?
Alrighty, so great job. Lots of right questions. And even the people that said 1700, close enough. Now you know it's 1600. Let's move on to the final question. And this one, I guess, is the hardest one, or people might have a difficulty knowing the answer because it does change, and it has changed a lot over the past years. It certainly changed since the pandemic, or once the pandemic started. So this is multiple choice, alrighty? What is the percentage of colleges that are test optional in the United States? What's the percentage of test optional colleges in the United States? A, 95%, B, 20%, or C, about 80%. A, 95%, B, 20%, or C, 80%. what's the percentage of test optional colleges in the United States? 95% A, B, 20%, C, 80%. Let's see what we get, what answers we get in the chat. We see 3 people saying C, Rosie, Manny, Blue also saying C, 80%. What are we getting? What answers are we getting on TikTok? We get a B from Zenny. Alrighty. Do we get Mile Castellano says C. Magenta says C as well. All right, we get a lot of people guessing C. So why don't we go ahead and share the right answer? What's the percentage of colleges that are test optional in the United States?
Yes, it is around 80% of colleges and universities have become test optional in the United States. Again, a number that drastically changed ever since COVID. An increasing amount of universities became test optional. Something that I do want to remind you all of is that if you decide to join Best College Aid, all of our members get access to study materials, official study materials for both the SAT and the ACT. And they're all delivered via Kindle online, so you can get them right away as soon as you join. So that helps out our students a bunch. And there is, again, as I mentioned in the answer of the previous question, an instance or instances in which it makes more sense and less sense to go ahead and send out your scores, your test scores, to test optional schools, right? So it's always a matter of having a strategy, plan ahead. If you are a junior, you should have your set deadlines of, okay, I should take this test by this time. Based on my preliminary list of schools, I should shoot for this score. If I don't get this score, maybe I need to pivot and take this university that was on the fringe list, move it up to my final list of colleges, or if it's test optional, simply the strategy would be to not send it. So again, there's a multitude of things that you can do, but the most important thing about this whole process is to have a strategy in place and a plan so that you know, regardless of whether you have a good score, a bad score, a competitive score, you contextualize it and apply it to the proper institutions that will value that score, or if they won't, you don't add it to your application and make the game of college admissions, which is a very, stats-based game that you can kind of see, oh, this school values this school values that, this is my priority, this is not my priority. And you can apply to the proper school that will see your aptitudes and your strengths as, what they look for. So that is basically, in essence, 80% of what we teach inside Best College Aid, how to go about this process. Again, if you're even remotely interested in, number one, learning more, as we've had this conversation, we get a lot of DMs saying, oh, where can I get another talk, or where can I, get another presentation? Well, I would recommend the one in the link in our bio. And then if after that you're still interested, the last 20 minutes is where we talk about the Best College Aid program. Again, very upfront about it, not trying to hide the fact that we do have that product service. So if you're interested, go ahead and check that out. If not, we'll be back here like we are every week to have, these conversations that are hopefully recreational, that are hopefully instructive, and that are hopefully of value to you and your families. And I always love when we started incorporating the trivia section at the end. We started incorporating it like a few weeks back, and it's always fun. And I very much appreciate when you all interact with us. It makes it more lively. I mean, I do love talking to you, Laura, but it's also fun when we have people joining the conversation. So thank you for that. And thank you for being engaged and for your questions and for everything, for joining us every Monday night.
Yes, thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed, and please watch that free training. If you want to learn more tips, I saw some questions in the chat, and your questions will be answered after watching that free training. If you're interested in joining Best College Aid, we do offer a discount for having watched that free training, a 50% off discount, so that you can join Best College Aid. So if you're interested in that, definitely take advantage of that. And if not, we'll see you again next week. We'll see you in social media. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, a wonderful week, because it is Monday, and we'll see you again soon.
Take care, y'all. Good night.